Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to MUFC versus Everybody. I am your host, Sean. I'm so thankful everyone's stopping by this morning. A little later on today than we typically do the roundup, but with the congested week going on, obviously we've got Newcastle tomorrow. I wanted to wait until Ten Hag's press conference ahead of the match, just before I do my match preview, so I have the most up-to-date information to share with you all. So you guys aren't always having to go scroll through your timeline or try to find online with what team news is ahead, what Ten Hag has said about certain things and whatnot. So I like to make sure I have all the news ahead of time, even if that means waiting a couple hours. I think that it's worth it, in my opinion. Plus, it gives me a chance to combine two things into one. We can get a bit of United team news and match preview along with our daily United news roundup. I love giving you guys the latest news. I like sifting and filtering through all the BS so you guys don't have to, so you can just get it streamlined and ready to go, and it's wrapped up in a nice little package for you. And then we can all make fun of Samuel Luckers and make fun of Liverpool and whoever else we need to make fun of when they come out with absolute crap. So all that being said, today is the match preview of tomorrow's vital 6-point match against Newcastle. And we do have some news for you. Before we do get stuck in, please hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you are new, and go follow me on Twitter, MUFC versus Everybody, if you want to interact with me outside of the videos. Leave a comment. We've got the live chat open. If you're joining me after the live stream, don't worry about it. Leave a comment anyway. I will respond to all of you. And let's get stuck in, shall we? So first and foremost, let me make this a little bigger so I can read it. There it is. First and foremost, we have a major update. It was kind of known, but now it's actually been official. So it's official. Raphael Varane will leave Manchester United this summer as a free agent. Now, I know a lot of people here, free agent is another player. Yeah, it's dumb that we're letting go of another player for free, but it is what it is. Aside from the Saudi league, there wasn't really anybody that was going to pay for Varane. I love Varane. He's a great defender. I think that his best days are behind him. Obviously, retiring from the French team did help, but his injuries he can't stay fit when you need him to. He can barely, even when he is fully fit, he can't really play more than one match a week anyway. So it is what it is. It is a bummer that we're letting him go for free. It's another player we've done that with, De Gea, Anthony Martial, Ander Herrera, Paul Pogba. We talked about it the other day, right? It's embarrassing. Even Ronaldo, we terminated the contract. So, but he'll go. He could go to the Saudi league. Maybe he would go back to Iran's. I don't know. He could do a lot of things if he wanted to. He could retire if he want. I mean, sometimes I you get the itch and you get the bug, right? But at the same time, with injuries and whatnot, and he's making a lot of money, I'd be just retiring, But if you love the game, it's hard to say no. We just hope that you don't say no to yourself too late. In any case, yes, he's leaving for free. He's been here 3 seasons. Ollie signed him a few seasons ago, and it was great. The club posted a farewell message and a thank you message to Varane. Varane himself has released a video message to United fans. He thanked the fans for creating such a great, positive, loving atmosphere at Old Trafford since he's been here. Regarding Varane, his fitness, as we head into these last few matches. So Ten Hag did say he doesn't think he's ready for tomorrow, but he is planning to have him available this weekend and hopefully against Man City as well. So he could get a nice little sending off if he's fit, but I wouldn't want to force it just for the sake of sentiment. His wages will be a nice chunk of change for us as well. He's on a lot of money, and that, accumulated over the course of a year, what is it, like 12, 13, 14 million? That's a decent return. That's a whole player if you scout well, in terms of transfer fees. So Raphael Varane, we do thank you for all that you've done. You've given us some good memories. It's such a good player. I do think it was a couple of years later than I would have liked to see you join United, but it is what it is. We appreciate everything you've done, and we wish you the best of luck in whatever you decide to do next. Thank you. Can we all take a moment to laugh at Liverpool, by the way? I know, being a United fan, especially this season right now, we should I should keep my powder dry, but I just can't. I have no shame when it comes to bashing Liverpool or bashing Arsenal. I think they're a joke. I just had this conversation about Arsenal the other at Loaded Dice Brewery with a Liverpool fan, calling it Arteta hate. Arteta hate when I was talking about how Arsenal fans aren't ready to have a serious conversation about Arteta if they fail to win any trophies again. But we got to laugh at Liverpool as well. 3-3 against Aston Villa yesterday after the biggest shithouse in the league. Emi Martinez just basically threw the ball into his own net to start the match and basically gift them a goal. They still come back. And the hypocrisy and the double standards when it comes to Liverpool and United is just ridiculous. I was watching another channel after the match yesterday, after the Aston Villa match, because I like to see a lot of different opinions, from different fan bases. It's good to get a good balance, but the revisionism, it's when United struggle, it's on Ten Hag. When Liverpool struggle, it's these attackers aren't good enough. The players aren't. We don't have the players. You rebuilt the whole midfield in the summer. You signed 4 midfielders. You've been buying attackers like every January. Everybody was hyping up Darwin Nunez when you guys bought him because he ran around a lot. The guy misses sitter after sitter after sitter, and you guys are already talking about selling him. But it's not Klopp. It's all Ten Hag when things go wrong at United, but it's not Klopp when things go wrong at Liverpool. It's such bull crap. But it is what it is. I get it. It's United. We're always going to be the biggest club. We're always going to be treated differently, and it is what it is. But we need to laugh at Liverpool. 3rd place in a Carabao Cup in Klopp's final season. They peaked in 2019. You got one league and a Champions League to show for it, and that Champions League, had they played any other side and had Pochettino not buckled under the pressure of Daniel Levy and started Harry Kane in that Champions League final and brought Harry Kane on as a sub and let Lucas Moura start, who got them to that final, we could be singing a very different tune about Jurgen Klopp. To do the same in his final season, supposedly this great Liverpool side, supposedly this great manager, as Ten Hag did in his very first season in this league, is laughable. Ten Hag has still been given crap about 3rd place in a Carabao Cup. People are forgetting it this season, saying it's not good enough. They're just rewriting history. Klopp is going out with the same thing. So it is what it is. Do it for Jurgen, though, right? Quadruple. I'm still taking credit for derailing their season, by the way. The backstepping and the revisionism has been hilarious. Where's Trent Alexander talking about quadruple now? They were talking about that in that Champions League final a few years ago against Real Madrid. Everybody was singing about a quadruple. I know I was singing it at the bar with a bunch of Liverpool fans watching that final. So I'm surprised sometimes I make it out of some of those situations alive and I don't get stabbed or something, because like I said, I have no shame when it comes. My buddy just laughs at me. My buddy Justin, he just calls me a savage because when it's Liverpool or Arsenal, I literally don't have any shame, and I'm not even embarrassed about it. I don't even care. So do it for Jurgen. Do it for Norbert. Let's talk a little bit of my updates. So we've got one from Jason with the Telegraph. So he's talking a little bit about Casemiro. So Casemiro's representatives have held talks with Saudi Pro League clubs. United are prepared to sell Casemiro. We talked about this the other day. And ideally, Bert continues, says, we want a deal agreed at the start by the time the transfer window opens. If that's true, I like what I'm hearing. We've spoken earlier. We need to start doing business earlier. We need to stop waiting until the window opens to start bringing players in. Dortmund will confirm summer signings in the late fall, early winter of the current season. We need to start looking ahead. It's like playing pool. You need to think a couple moves ahead, not just move in front of your face. But he does continue to say that we're not going to push him out, but if a deal is there, we'd like to get it wrapped up because we need it. We need funds. We need to know what's going into the preseason. We need to know how our squad's going to look. We need time to identify targets and rebuild. So we'd like to know if he's staying or going before we start bringing in players, because it could screw us up if he's still around and we have another defensive midfielder brought in, and now we're stuck with these wages again, because that's going to kill us for the rest of the window as well. So hopefully everybody has everyone's best interest in mind. Let's get that done. So let's talk about some Old Trafford news. So we all saw the footage that's been going around from the heavy rain that was in Manchester for the match against Arsenal, the leaky roof that was coming through the away dressing room tiles, the coming down the stairs, coming down the walls. It was embarrassing. And I don't know how the owners get away with that as not being a very serious potential safety hazard. But we do have some news here. So this is coming from the Mail. So United have plans to replace the roof of the Sir Bobby Charlton stand. So that's the oldest stand at Old Trafford, I believe. And they want to repair it, but the club is unlikely to spend millions and spend years repairing it until a decision has been made regarding a future stadium. I don't think the two need to be as connected. This is a mutually exclusive thing, because unless you plan to fully tear down Old Trafford in the future and not use it for anything, you need to repair the roof now. Because again, it's a safety issue. And I know some people the owners, the Glazers are probably sitting there thinking, like, there's only 2 matches left. What does it matter? Well, there have been matches in the past where pieces of concrete have fallen. Like, if that falls and hurts somebody, like, you're screwed as an owner. You'll be sued out of your ass. And this isn't a Sir Jim thing, because he came in and inherited this. David Gill was speaking to Rio a few months ago that the roof has been like this for decades. Like, this needs to get fixed. I don't care what you need to do, because we could use this stadium for a lot of things in the future. It can be a concert venue. It can be used for the youth team, the women's team, everything. But it needs to raise the standards a little bit on that. And the roof, yes, it's expensive, but it gets more expensive the more you neglect it. And that's just the way it is. It was a very similar situation at one of my former office spaces where I live. I went in one Christmas day I had to go print some stuff off, and this was literally Christmas Day. And I go up to the building and I noticed the back door. It's like a glass back door. It was very foggy and like a condensation. I was like, what is going on? And I unlock it, open it, and water just comes pouring out. And I was like, well, that's not good. It was like that Jumanji scene with the rain and stuff. So our office was on the first floor. So I go to my office, but as soon as I turn the hallway, the water is dripping from the ceiling. There's like inches of water on the floor. Ceiling tiles have disintegrated, and I was like, what is going on? So on the second floor, where the water heater, a pipe had burst because it was so cold that last winter, and it just flooded the building. That's exactly what it looked like. The footage from Old Trafford was exactly what it looked like. And the problem is like just the owner neglect, and eventually it becomes it's a small fix early on when it's first identified, but the longer you wait, the more irreparable it gets. And that's what's happening at Old Trafford. And there's nothing Sir Jim and Ineos can do about the level of neglect that has accumulated at Old Trafford over the years. That's a Glazer thing. So on the stadium and the leak, so David McDonald with the Mirror, he adds that Manchester United have put plans in place to fix the leaking roof, but they put them on hold until, again, the decision is made on the future of the stadium. We've looked at the feasibility of installing a new roof, but it is a costly project which is unlikely to be undertaken until a decision is reached on the bigger picture of stadium redevelopment. So again, same thing we've just said. So we'll see what happens. I hope nobody gets hurt in the future. I know that there was a record amount of rain on Sunday. I think it was like 40 something millimeters of rain in one day, when in all of like 1 month they had like 29 millimeters of rain. So it was more in one day than they've had in like a month. So it's been insane, but there's still no excuse. Your roof should be able to contain that, because that's a lot of weight. You saw that water that was pouring down. That's a lot of weight on the roof, and for a roof that's never been taken care of and it's old, it's only a matter of time before all that water weight just brings part of it down. So let's hope that nobody gets hurt in these last couple matches here. Got a little bit of manager news. I know. Manager news. We're tired of hearing about manager news. If you're not tired of reading about manager news, go check out my videos on managers that we've been linked with. There's a good little series. So go check out those videos when you get a can. Don't leave today, but go check them out after the fact. Leave a like on them and let me know your thoughts. So today we got Mike McGrath with the Daily Telegraph. He's reported that Brentford manager Thomas Frank is a strong contender to become United manager if Eric Ten Hag is sacked. I don't buy it. I don't know where this is coming from. I don't know I think it's just any manager under the sun right now is being tossed in there. I think, I should have looked at Thomas Frank's contract situation at Brentford. I know he's been there a few years, and yeah, he's done a good job. I think Brentford are a pretty well-run club, but he's nowhere near the level you need for a club like Man United. And that's not disrespect, but he's, maybe he's outgrowing Brentford. Maybe, if De Zerbi in another year doesn't do well enough, maybe Thomas Frank can jump up to the Brighton job. I think, honestly, depending on what happens at Dortmund, I think he would be a good manager to look at the Dortmund job, personally. I think he could do a really good job at Ajax as well. They have a very similar kind of structure going on behind the scenes. Yes, it's been a mess over there as far as their board goes, but I think Thomas Frank could do a really good job at Ajax. So keep an eye out for that one, but I'm not buying the Thomas Frank to United. I mean, literally everybody's been linked to United, so I got to throw it out there, though, so you guys can hear my thoughts, and I'd love to hear yours. I did see a ton of people retweeting some BS rumors from Neil Custis at The Sun regarding Bruno Fernandes leaving this summer. Now, obviously, Ten Hag has come out and rubbished those reports, but you have to, like I've told you before, guys, you have to deep this stuff. When you deep it, you can really see that it's bullcrap. And I tweeted yesterday after the stuff, if this rumor was making the rounds, I actually went and looked at the article where it's from, and I didn't just retweet the sentence, the headline. You got to do more. So not only you got to remember, again, context, where the source is coming from, who they claim the sources are, and the history of the source with the club. So we all know that Sammy Luckers has a pretty touchy history with United. So, and clearly he's pretty butthurt. That's why I call him Samuel Butthurt. But Neil Custis, also not a great history with the club. He's been banned by United several times, in fact. So that's one factor you have to remember. When you deep that article, though, and you go back, look at it, and I posted the screenshot of this, the source literally in the article for this Bruno Fernandes leaving is Sun Sport understands. Guys, that's not a source. That's not a source. According to reports, understands, rumors, a source told a confidant this, and it reminds me of who's that song by? You guys know that song? Heard it from a friend who heard it from a friend who heard it from another, even messing around. You know that song? Somebody tell me in the comments who that song is by. That's what it reminds me of when I hear this crap. Can you get copyright done for singing a song? I don't know. I hope not. Or that scene, you guys know that movie Ferris Bueller's Day Off, that scene where the teacher Ben Stein is like, where's Bueller? And the actress, the girl in class, lists all these things. My best friend's brother saw this, who did all this, heard it from that person that he's dead or something. That's what this kind of stuff. Those are the things that come through my mind whenever I read this kind of stuff. So you have to deep it. Don't just read tweets. Don't just read headlines. Don't just you got to read the article and look for where the source comes from. If it says, if the Sun put out an article and it said the Sun, according to Mundo Deportivo, there's usually going to be a hyperlink where it says Mundo Deportivo. Click on the hyperlink, follow it to the Mundo Deportivo website, translate it with Google, look where Mundo Deportivo got it from. You have to do that kind of stuff and follow those trails. I know that it's a lot of work, and I know it's easier just to retweet something to get clicks and stuff, but it's just perpetuating bullshit. Deep it, read it, and filter it out for yourself. I know that's partly my job here. That's what I try to do for you guys, but I'm not always around. So you got to do some of that on your own a little bit. Speaking of BS, did y'all see the footage of Anthony throwing a fit against Arsenal about having to play at left back for a little bit? What a baby. Anthony was basically pushed by McTominay, literally pushed to the left back position from that right side, and he was still throwing a tantrum when he got there. You could see him muttering under his breath like footballers do during these matches, right? Dude, just take one for the team. There's injuries. We need help. Just move to left back and you're not going to get to score goals. You're not going to get that's fine. You're not scoring any goals anyway. I think you scored against Burnley, but you need to just take one for the team. It's a needs must right now. That's called being a team player. You sat there and you scored, and you held last season and held the chest and kissed the badge on the chest. Well, this is part of that. This is what involves. This is what we mean as United fans when we question player mentality. If you can't make a sacrifice for a few minutes in a big match at a crunch time of the season for your club and play out of position for a little bit, and you can't do it adequately well, no one's expecting you to be the best left back in the world. We just need bodies, and we need you to adjust the way you're playing for a few moments to help the club out, help the team, help the manager, help the fans. The same with Casemiro. No one's expecting Casemiro to be Virgil van Dijk when he's got to play center back. No one's expecting that, but we do expect basic footballing level, like schoolboy level defending competence back there, which he's also not done. So, but to see Antony throw a fit about it is a little bit embarrassing for him, and I think that Ineos and Barada specifically, and Wilcox, everybody will be watching that, and I don't think stuff like that reflects poorly on the manager. We just saw Mo Salah and Jurgen Klopp get into it on the touchline a few weeks ago over literally nothing. Nobody wants to talk about that, but it is what it is. Do it for Jurgen. So that's going to wrap it up for the roundup. Let's jump into the preview here of the Newcastle match tomorrow. So obviously at home, we did better than I thought we would do against Arsenal. I thought we played really well. We kept the ball really well. I thought Amrabat did really well. We just weren't clinical. I think if we had just been a little bit more clinical, and if we, again, another stupid error, because Arsenal didn't look that great. Saka wasn't really doing a whole lot. Havertz wasn't doing that. Odegaard wasn't doing a whole lot. It was only Trossard kind of getting on the end of something, a little cutback, simply because Casemiro just switched off. And that's, again, these are the kind of things that I don't fault Casemiro for. I don't blame him for the loss, right? Because he's not a center back. He's not used to having to think about playing someone on side like that because he's used to playing in midfield. But at the same time, you have to switch on. You have to stay switched on. You have to communicate. So Onana plays a part. Evans plays a part. Everybody plays a part in that goal being conceded. But overall, it's an error. It's a stupid error. Let's look at Newcastle's team news. So Alexander Isak and Callum Wilson will face late fitness tests. Obviously, Isak hasn't trained in a few days. Eddie Howe said he was taken off a little earlier against Brighton. Remember, they drew 1-1 against Brighton last weekend, and he was taken off before the 70th minute, which when you're drawing 1-1, you wouldn't think, right, that's going to happen. But he's been ill for a while now. And Eddie Howe confirmed this and said he didn't train yesterday. So it'll be a question mark. And then obviously Callum Wilson was a little sick as well. And he didn't train yesterday either. So two strikers not training could be interesting. I know they tend to line up in a 4-3-3. Sometimes they've played a 4-4-2. It just depends on who's fit. I wouldn't surprise me to see maybe someone like Murphy or even Almiron kind of moved up a little higher. But we'll see what happens. Eddie Howe wasn't optimistic regarding Callum Wilson being ready for tomorrow, but he does think he'll be ready for Brighton. So good news for us potentially, because his physical presence against our really threadbare defense right now would not have been fun. Defender Fabian Schär is still a doubt after he's been out for a bit with a hamstring injury, and I know that could be good because they've got some players who aren't used to playing in center back, and Fabian Schär he's pitched in with some goals this season as well. He's got a screamer in him. I liked him. Where was he at before? Was he at Schalke before? Somebody remind me. I remember watching him like 7-8 years ago, and he looked like a good little defender. But he'll be out as well. Newcastle are just like us, have another team who've been struggling with injuries. I know early on, there's that famous footage of Trippier kind of arguing with the fans after a tough result and asking the fan, like, how many injuries you got? How many injuries you got? And this is the thing that bugs me, because I know being a United fan this season that is a big deal. And so I feel for Newcastle and Trippier in that moment in that regard. But at the same time, nobody gave Ten Hag, nobody gives us any grace or any leeway when it comes to injuries. So why should we give anybody else any leeway? Man City fall apart without Rodri. Liverpool's season fell apart without Virgil van Dijk when he got injured. And everybody was happy to blame that. Nobody blames the fact that we've had 60 some odd injuries and only had our strongest our back line once, a couple times. It is what it is. I'm not going to go too far into it, but you can tell it's a point of frustration with me. It's not the other teams are using the excuse, it's that the excuse is okay for them and not for us. Despite some of the injuries and everything, Newcastle have found some form in recent weeks. They have 3 wins, 1 loss, and a draw in their last 5, and that draw was their most recent match against Brighton, 1-1. But before that, they did put a combined 9 goals past Sheffield United and Burnley, and we could not do that. They did lose to Palace, but everybody loses to Palace, it seems. And they did put 4 past Spurs in their 5th match a while ago. So, but Ange Ball though, right, mate? Newcastle are above us right now in the table. They are 6th place, so they have 57 points. I think we have 54 points. Their goal differential is much, much better than ours. Ours is back down in the negatives, and they have a positive 22. So we would have to beat them, and we would have to beat Brighton, and we would have to hope that Newcastle lose against Brentford for us to have a chance of finishing above them and locking in, Europa League or Conference League kind of stuff. And so it's like I said, tomorrow's a big 6-pointer. It could really help us a lot. And, I will give my prediction on that a little later, but, every match is crucial. I know I've been saying that every single time we talk about these match reactions and these previews, but it is crucial. And I wish the players would realize that. I wish the manager would take that a little bit more seriously, because all it would have taken is just staying switched on in this moment, or playing a different style in this moment, or it's for us to have a couple more points. This just sloppy errors, conceding a late goal against Brentford, conceding a stupid penalty because of a stupid decision from Casemiro, and lack of coordination from Onana against Burnley. Like, these little moments, like I've said before, pebbles make big ripples. These little moments can have big impacts, not just in a match, but over the course of a season. And right now, who out there wouldn't kill for those 6 points that we should have had? Let's look at some of their tactics here. So Newcastle's formation, their tactics do have a lot to do with their available strikers. Like I said before, they tend to play a 4-3-3, but sometimes they play a little different. They put 2 up top, depending. Isak, remember, was taken off last time out. He could miss this one. The problem is Anthony Gordon. He's a little, I hate him because he's such a little diving prick, but he's dangerous. He's got 10 goals, 10 assists. So I think we just saw Wan-Bissaka played on the right against Arsenal, which surprised me, considering Bukayo Saka lines up on our left. So I would have thought we would have seen that. But I think we'll probably see Wan-Bissaka again on the right to maybe try to lock down Anthony Gordon. The trick in that case will not just be following Gordon; it'll be forcing him wide. Gordon, as he spoke about on with Gary Neville in that interview, that he's got a very unique dribbling style, that he's looking more at the defender, and his timing is a little different when it comes to his touches and his steps he takes. So if Wan-Bissaka can keep him force wide, keep pace with him, which is going to be difficult to do, and not let him get past him, because Wan-Bissaka doesn't look good when he's trying to chase people into the area. And I think our midfield needs to be a little alert as well in that regard. Someone needs to help him out, not necessarily go double man, because if he moves past you, he passes it, then you're taken out. But just someone needs to kind of follow that play and stay just a little off in case something does happen and Wan-Bissaka can, pass him off or get a different position. Then I think we'll be fine. But if you let him get past you and you let him get in the area, he's going to cause us problems. Newcastle's midfield has been a little problematic for the opposition as well in recent weeks. Longstaff and Anderson tend to pop up kind of like McTominay in these advanced positions in the right time to just make something happen. They either grab goals or make chances. I know both of them. So I think Longstaff had a goal last time in one of the recent games. Could have been the one against Brighton, and Anderson had the assist. So we need to watch that. And then obviously Bruno Guimaraes, one of the best midfielders, I think in the league personally. He's a bit hot-headed, yes, but he's a good midfielder. He's an excellent midfielder, and he can really disrupt our ability to move the ball. Yeah, he's got a yellow card in him for sure, but he can really cause us problems if our passing and is not on point, and if we're not on the same page in the midfield. So we need to work around that, in my opinion. As far as United goes, so Rashford's been dealing with some bruised ribs and a bruised heel. He has done some light training last week. He's still a bit of a doubt for tomorrow, but he probably will be ready for Brighton this weekend and for sure ready against City. But he needs to be match fit. So if he's not ready tomorrow, he needs to get minutes against Brighton to get back up to fitness. He can't just go in cold against City because it won't work out. Ten Hag did reveal, however, that Licha should be in the matchday squad tomorrow, which is excellent news. I know he's been out with a lot of injuries, and it's not his fault either. The two main injuries were contact injuries, and then when you're out for so long, those calf injuries that he got last time that's going to happen just from lack of use in your muscles. He does need minutes before, and I know that there was talk the other week that he'd be ready for the final. It came out like they hoped, but I think we need like I said with Rashford, we need these returning players to be ready for the final, which means match fit, which means minutes tomorrow, minutes against Brighton, and full training before the final, because we need them ready for the final. We can't just put them in cold against Manchester City. We'll get destroyed. They can grab some minutes in these last two league games. It'll be the best thing for them, and it'll improve our chances greatly against City. So as far as United's form, we've been shit. I know I'm such a tactical analyst, right? No, we've been shit. I mean, we've talked about it over. I feel like I'm a broken record sometimes. Our last win was against Sheffield United, and that was a while ago. Since then, we've lost our last two matches. We drew against Burnley as well, so it's just been crap. Obviously, we beat Coventry in the semifinal, but it's just those drop points against relegation sides that have been killing us at the business end of the season, and you just can't afford to do that. No disrespect to those sides, but you can't be dropping points against Burnley or Sheffield United, and we didn't drop points. I'm just using them as an example. You can't drop points against teams like that if you want to be in Europe next season. You just can't. You're pretty much just telling yourself and pretty much putting the message out there that it's not going to happen. Like, problem two is we've only scored one goal in our last three matches as well. That was against Burnley. So we saw Willy Kambwala come on for the last 15, 20 minutes or so against Arsenal. If he's ready, if he's fit, I would play him over Casemiro. I would start Kambwala. We need an actual defender in the defense and not Casemiro. I don't even know if I would start Casemiro, period, not even in midfield. I thought Amrabat did really well. He's faster than Casemiro. He helped kind of shore up our midfield a little better, and he was able to kind of keep things ticking, like I said the other day. Casemiro, I think for us, for United specifically, even last season, I think Casemiro's best attribute at us has been popping up on set pieces to make something happen. We've seen him score a lot of goals from free kicks and corners, mostly from free kicks. I feel like he reads the defensive line really well. He gets a foot out or a head out or something, and he makes something happen. So I think later on in the match, Casemiro could be fine, but I would not start him unless we have to in defense. I'd like to see Ahmad start again. I think his speed and his close control could cause problems for Dan Burn and Lewis Hall. We saw that in full show against Arsenal, where he should have won a penalty. We should have had a penalty against Arsenal when Thomas Partey tackled him inside the box. He diced a couple Arsenal players, got into the area, and Thomas Partey had gone to ground and took him out. Literally the same challenge that Wan-Bissaka did on Harvey Elliott. It was a soft challenge, and in my opinion, is not a penalty. But if you're going to give it to one team in one match, you got to give it again. So I think it's moments like that can cause big, slow guys like Dan Burn problems. He's not going to out-jump Dan Burn on a set piece, but that low center of gravity, that quick feet, that ability to keep control of the ball and read the game, I think could be a tremendous asset. And I think he deserves those minutes, like I said in my 3 thoughts yesterday. Go check that video out. The problem for us has been getting the ball to Højlund and scoring goals. Garnacho and Antony can be very selfish in the final third. We saw that against Arsenal. Garnacho he wants to take everybody on himself, similar to Rashford, and it's just causing chances. And even when he does put a cross into the box on the rare occasion, the crosses aren't good enough. He attempted a handful of crosses, and just none of them were accurate against Arsenal, and it's just not good enough. And Antony can't use his right foot anyway, and his shooting is usually hit or miss, mostly miss. So it's going to be interesting to see if we get Højlund the ball, we can score. Ahmad looks to create. His dribbling can be a game changer for us in the final third, like I said, and especially if he can get space for himself to put on ball in the box. I think Hoyland's just got to be alert for those balls. I don't think Ahmad's going to be like a byline, put across, and he's going to be dribble, 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 and then boom, quick cutback, quick layoff on the dribble. And Hoyland needs to be ready for that because Hoyland needs service. We all saw that stat that came out earlier this week about Hoyland's conversion rate. We all remember the stats about the passes, the touches he's getting. He's not getting any touches. There was a moment earlier in the season where he was receiving the ball the fewest out of any strikers. There was a match recently where he received the most passes from Andre Onana in a given match compared to his other teammates. But we just saw the stat that came out that his conversion rate is one of the best in the league. I think it's like 22, 23%, which is like Erling Haaland level. It's better than like Watkins and those guys who are doing well. What that means is when he gets the ball, odds are he's going to score. Considering how few passes he receives and how few touches he gets in the ball, scoring that frequently with those bare chances is impressive. Get him the ball. Get him the ball. Get him the ball. It's not that difficult. Sir Alex, when we bought Robin Van Persie, and I'm not, before people clip this up and start coming at me, I'm not saying Hoyland is as good as Robin Van Persie. I'm saying when you get a striker, they need the ball. When Sir Alex brought in Robin Van Persie, he told the United team, get him the ball. If you're not going to give him the ball, I'll play someone who will. Like, it's just the way it is. We need to move the ball a little quicker in the final third. Stop taking one too many touches, which we do a lot. Stop. McTominay gets in those positions sometimes, and he knows he doesn't have a pass, so he passes it back. He slows it down. We need to just move the ball quick. We need to be able to read that situation going into it, and not wait till we're in it to make a decision. I do think, too, we need to stop trying to play Hoyland as a hold-up striker, and to do link-up play. His link-up play is decent, but he's young and he's playing against very experienced defenders, and we're fizzing these balls in, and it's not sticking a lot of time. And he could do better to control those balls, but he's still young, and that's not his game. That wasn't his game as at Atalanta, and he's shown that if we can find him in the channels, playing off the shoulders of the defenders, he's very fast. If we can find him in those situations, play the ball to feet and let him get on the end of a driven ball on the ground and stop trying to hoof it up to him to just try to control it for everyone else, I think we'll see more from him. And I think that'll allow him and allow everyone else to kind of get into these advanced positions as well. We need to keep the ball on the floor, find him in the channels, and look for him on these runs. Problem is we just don't move the ball fast enough. We saw Garnacho getting frustrated about that at Arsenal. We're not moving the ball fast enough. We're taking way too much time, and it's letting the opposition get back into shape. We need to move the ball quicker. Keep it on the ground and move it quicker. I do think Newcastle's defense can be beaten. Again, especially if we move the ball quick and we show a little bit more improved decision-making in the final third. Emil Kraft has come in for Fabian Schär in defense. Dan Burn is a physical presence, but he's been playing as a left back more often than not, and so now he's been moving into defense. So we're not going to do anything on set pieces. It's just not going to happen. Unless you can get a ball in quick, like a low-driven ball in behind, you're not going to beat Dan Burn on a corner or a free kick. But that also goes for us defensively as well. We need to, in my opinion, what we need to do is take advantage of the inexperience of Newcastle's fullbacks. So Lewis Hall, Livramento, fullbacks, they're both very, very young, which means they're very, very inexperienced. Yes, they show promise. Yes, they show skill, but there's match intelligence that only comes from experience. And I think we need to take advantage of that by trying to get Dalot and Wan-Bissaka a little more advanced, not necessarily to look for them as the outlet, but to just cause these problems with these overloads. Give the young fullbacks at Newcastle have something to think about, something to confuse them. Who do I pick up? Who do I leave? We've got two guys who like, what's going on? I think we can cause problems because we've seen it cause problems for us too when we get these overloads. Crystal Palace destroyed us with these overloads. They play those wing backs against, and it kills us. There is a potential risk there, like there is with any of these high pressing, high attacking sides, that if you do lose the ball, you are exposed on the counter. And so for this reason, like I've said time and time again, our defense needs to sit just a little deeper, not too deep. It's just we need to sit a little deeper, and our midfielders need to be alert to that situation. If the wide players are going to cause overloads, the midfielders don't need to get central. They need to sit a little deeper and move a little bit wider, just to give us another passing option if it's not on, and also be prepared in case we lose the ball and we're getting hit on the counter, because we look vulnerable against the counter. We've looked vulnerable against counterattacks for years. It's not a Ten Hag thing. Yeah, he can fix it, but it's been like that for years. So I do think that's where we can cause a little bit of problems. Take advantage of that. I think like getting Ahmad involved, like I think it could cause a lot of problems. So we'll see what happens. This is a big 6-pointer for both teams. Like I said, it could have a big impact on either side playing in Europe next season. As far as my starting 11 goes, not too many differences. I think it's mainly going to, the only thing I'm going to change is going to be if Kambwala is fully fit. So it sounds like he is. He did play. So I'm going with Onana, Wan-Bissaka on the right, Kambwala, Johnny Evans, and Diogo Dalot on the left. I think Manu and Amrabat complemented each other well, and they both look really good against Arsenal. So I'd probably put that. Like see Ahmad. I don't know if Bruno is fit. It's still kind of up in the air. But if he's fit, he'll probably play in the 10. If not, then we'll probably see McTominay there again. And then Garnacho and Højlund. I don't necessarily like McTominay in the 10. I know he pops up in those positions, but when he starts in that position, he tends to kind of take up the spaces that Højlund takes up, and it just causes problems. I mean, you can start him on paper as a 10, but he needs to sit just a little deeper and try to make runs into the box rather than take up the striker position, because it's just, you're almost taking two players out of the game in that regard because they're getting in each other's way. And you, in those situations, you'd rather have the striker in those positions than McTominay. So we'll see how it goes. So pretty much the same minus Casemiro, and it could go either way with Bruno or McTominay. Well, it depends on fitness. Score prediction, I do think this is going to be 2-2. I think that it will be a scrappy late equalizer from Newcastle from a sloppy defensive error from United, the same that we've seen time and time again. And I think it'll be like one of those situations, kind of like Brentford, where it's just someone like, what's his face? Longstaff was going to pop up in the box or something because we're not going to be able to clear it, or it's going to be a cutback and he's just going to just pass it in the net. And it's going to be a problem. I think 2-2 is my prediction. I think the best thing that I would like to see from us, aside from all 3 points, obviously, I don't want us to lose. I'm not one of those weirdos. But I do think that the best thing I could see aside from 3 points would be some returning players like Kambwala, like Licha, getting some minutes, maybe even Rashford and Bruno getting minutes towards the end of the match. And then the other thing is just no new injuries. I don't want to see anyone getting injured. You never know what's going to happen with Bruno Guimaraes running around, lunging into tackles, but we just no injuries. Please, no injuries. Can't afford it. So ahead of the match, my final thoughts for everyone would be ones of encouragement and please for unity in the fan base. I refer back to Raphael Varane's message. He shared in that video that he released how special and how appreciative and how loved he felt from the United fan base and the atmosphere that the United fans created for him when he arrived at the club. He felt it. We need to bring more of that back for all these players and the manager. No matter if you're Ten Hag out, no matter if you want to sell this player, that's not what's needed right now. What's needed right now is that atmosphere, that love, that support in these vital remaining matches. And you can say I sound sappy. I don't care. We want to be united. We want to be supportive. You want to support them and hope they do better rather than just keep trying to bring them down. That's not helping anything. And they do feel it. Fans at the matches, create an atmosphere worthy of United fan base, worthy of United. Fans online, show some support. Don't just focus on the negatives. Show some support. When someone makes a good tackle, celebrate it. When someone makes a good save, celebrate it. When someone makes a good effort and it's just a little wide, celebrate it. Clap them. This is support. It does have an impact. This book behind me, 12 yards, one of the big correlating factors in a penalty shootout between the success or failure of a given taker is how their teammates react to the taker that went before them. Even if they miss. If your teammate misses a shot in a penalty shootout and as they're walking back to the center circle, their teammates are clapping, they're showing support, they're bigging them up, that has a big impact correlation-wise between the success of the next taker, because it has a lot to do with morale, with mood, with the atmosphere, with cohesion, with support. That's what is needed from us. Like Sir Jim talks about putting the Manchester in Manchester United. Right now, we need to put the United in Manchester United. All right, stick with me. Stick with the team. Stick with Ten Hag. There's nothing you can do anyway that's going to change Ineos's mind, but support, all right? It can't hurt. So give it a shot. Those are my thoughts on Newcastle. That's the news roundup. Let me know what you think in the comments, what your prediction, what your starting 11 would be, what you'd like to see us do. What are your thoughts on qualifying for Europe and all that? Please, please, please like the video. Please subscribe to the channel if you're new. I love interacting with people. I love seeing the subscribers. We got another couple subscribers recently, and I love to see it. Let's help the community grow. Let's help reach more people. Let's help get more people involved. And I'd love the chance to give back in the future if we can keep the channel growing. So thank you again. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you guys following the match for my initial reaction. And I will talk to you then. Later.